Hello guys and gals, me Mutahar, and the YouTube title situation is insane. Now I'm sure you've probably all seen that title makeup at some point. I've been guilty of it. A lot of channels have been guilty of it. And it's sort of become its own meme. Like, X situation is Y, right? Like, something massive can happen like, hey guys, the Microsoft situation is insane. The Xbox situation is anal pounding. The New York situation is what? And, usually that's supposed to be a pretty vague title that's meant to grab the attention of the user, right? Now, look, clickbait is a dirty word that is used in this sphere. And I want to say that obviously if you're, in the platform, if you're doing anything content creation related, clickbait is one of those things where it's like the Force from Star Wars, right? Like you can either go into the dark side of the Force, you can go full SoFlo Antonio, gone sexual. That's a meme from the old days. Or you can be at very much the light side where you can use a little bit of it. You have to find the balance, so to speak, right? Because ultimately any content creator will tell you like a little bit of salaciousness, a little bit of, interestingness is important when it comes to actually making a YouTube video, right? Like obviously the YouTube video's content is first and foremost, but what's really, again, one of the interesting dichotomies of YouTube is like there are entire industries centered around the thumbnail, the title for videos, metadata, how you implement yourself in the YouTube algorithm, right? Which is one of those like important mythical beasts that every creator talks about. Here's the secret reality of like being a YouTuber. Like I'm somebody that makes content on the internet. I don't consider myself to be popular whatsoever, but I think I do pretty okay for myself. And the reality of YouTube is like, I'm gonna be honest with you, I'm lucky, okay? This is a one-man shop, some ordinary gamers, okay? It's just me, it's my cup of coffee, and it's literally, it's just me recording what I want to record, having a good time, editing it together, and posting it. Simple as that. YouTube can be an enterprise for a lot of people, and it can just be a simple way for someone to broadcast themselves. And that's pretty much how I tend to do YouTube and how it will go out when I retire from YouTube, is just having this as my own solo enterprise, having a decent time. Now, obviously, I'm no expert at things like titling, description, and thumbnails. Generally speaking, vague titles is something that I've been a little bit guilty of, I'd say, for the last few months, where you literally, as I'm making videos, sometimes I really don't know how to title the video, so it'll just be a vague title like, hey, the Microsoft situation is wild, or like, hey, this situation is insane, or, your privacy is on the line, or it really is a bad day to be on the internet. And the reality of those titles is like some of them do really well, some of them don't. Again, there's no real hard and fact science that I have for this, but it's just literally sometimes like a video will come out and I'll record it and I'll put it and I really have no idea how to sell it, and then it'll just be a vague title. And obviously for the, person watching the video, they'll be like, oh, maybe that's interesting, I'll click on it. And for a content creator, down the road, if that video for me is really important and it leads into something else, like I'm working on a video in regards to a dark web, I don't know if I can even say that word. It revolves a shooting in an educational area and video games, right? So for me, researching like older videos I have made around video game violence and the topic of it, some of those videos are easy to hunt down and download and use in content going forward because they've been titled appropriately. And some of them are literally, this is a very tragic situation, ... And that's what makes literally sourcing those videos almost impossible. And it literally is just a burden. And it's like, for somebody that wants to go back and watch content from like years ago, it's probably one of the worst things that you can do. One of the worst things that I've been guilty of, as have many other content creators out there. So for me going forward, obviously, like when uploading YouTube videos, it's probably more ideal that I stay as verbose as I can. Now, the thing about uploading YouTube content is like, one of the things that I definitely do want to talk about a little bit is like, there is this obvious slant towards negativity that works really well, right? Like if you have a positive YouTube video and a YouTube title, you would think that, yeah, it would work pretty well. And in some cases it does, but overall, like throughout my time on YouTube, it's usually the negativity in a YouTube title that kind of sells, right? Like if there's a controversy that you have, that you're talking about, it's usually better to build that controversy in probably one of the most salacious negative ways possible, because that is probably one of the easiest ways that engagement is done on it, right? And everyone is really responsible of this. Like at the end of the day, when you upload a video onto YouTube, you definitely want it to be seen. But there's a fine line between, again, you wanting it to be seen and then making it so fucking vague in the title sphere that going back to it a year or two down the road is actually impossible. So yeah, that's one of the things that honestly is worth changing. I realize in like the last year or two that this situation has exacerbated. I've contributed to it, as have many other channels. But yeah, the whole like X situation is Y title stuff probably has to change. Now, obviously, if there's one thing that I'm not going to change is the ... at the end of each video, okay? That's just never going to happen. That has been a staple of my channel for like damn near 7 or 8 years now, and that shit ain't going away until the very end. The only time you'll ever get a proper video title without the 3 fucking dots at the end is when something serious happens. That's usually only like once a year, pretty much when it comes down to. But yeah, vague YouTube titles is something that I feel like many content creators have necessarily been guilty of. And generally speaking, I don't think it's so bad on my end because I've looked through like the last 200-300 videos, and generally speaking, the titles have pretty much been on point. But when it comes to vagueness, like, hey, this situation isn't good, or this situation regarding computer security isn't good, it's usually best to, again, sell that in the best light possible and the most verbose way possible. Just so even as a viewer, like when you're watching and you want to go back to like looking up things, it's probably better that I put things like solar winds in the title of a video versus the worst cyber attack just happened. Because yes, using a title like the worst cyber attack just happened tends to work really well in the algorithm. But down the road, when you want to revisit that for a hacking thing you're going to talk about in the future, like me, for instance, talking more about things like North Korea and the Lazarus Group, it's probably better that I actually have something related to that in the actual title of the video. Again, YouTube's successes is super duper weird. Like, again, we all upload videos to be viewed, but the thing about YouTube's algorithm and how it pushes certain content based on, again, the titles and the thumbnails and the descriptions and how it puts things into the search rankings has always, it kind of like leads people into like, maybe, you know, kind of going into the dark side of the clickbait universe and the dark side of the vague title universe just to actually, you know, put a video up on the platform. So it's just one of those things that I wanted to talk about, and it's one of those comments that I saw raised up. So again, I do read the YouTube comments. Like, obviously, if you put something in the YouTube comments, I will most likely read it. Like, I don't get enough comments on my channel to not at least go through every single video uploads like comment section, just to see what the general vibe of the community is like and just to see how you're engaging, right? I feel like as a creator, if you're not reading your comments and if you're not actually, you know, if you're not actually like using your comments to make your content better or at least learn from mistakes, then really what is the fucking point of YouTube? And I've listened to the audience, but I've also had to listen to myself, dude. The vague video title situation is actually insane, and that's not a hyperbole right there. It really is. When going back to older content to look through it, nothing is more annoying to a viewer than it is literally trying to look up an older video and just seeing that it literally is titled so vague that you really have no idea what the fuck is actually going on in the video until you click through it and watch a couple minutes, which nobody wants to do. That's an actual harm to somebody's channel as well. And as a content creator, looking at older videos from not just my channel, but other channels that I watch and looking at things and trying to figure out what a video is just not good user experience, okay? And yeah, I just wanted to bring that up to people's attention because I saw that brought up, and lo and behold, as I'm working on this Linux video, whew, that is probably the most annoying thing to ever see. But hopefully this video kind of alleviated some concerns. Hopefully this video kind of shed some light on from a creator perspective on the vague title situation permeating on YouTube. Something that I'm guilty of, as is many other channels out on the internet. But yeah, we're going to go with just verbose channels. Like, you probably have seen me in like the last couple months change the title as videos come out. And sometimes it's literally because like the video title was uploaded because that's just how it was rendered. Sometimes when you go from a specific title that's not doing well to something that is vague, for instance, you'll see a video shoot from like literally bottom of the rankings to like the top, be recommended everywhere. And sometimes you'll see the opposite. You'll go from a vague title to a specific title and YouTube's algorithm just like pushes it to the top or whatever. So it's one of those things where obviously it's kind of hard to understand how the algorithm works. I'm going to tell you what the YouTube algorithm is, okay? It's a set of code that nobody can understand because it's a set of code that changes all the fucking time. I don't even think YouTube can properly accurately describe how its algorithm works. But yeah, going forward, I'm gonna look at content as more of like how it can be evergreen. But yeah, going forward, it's probably gonna be better to like hyper specify and like hyper like, again, move away from kind of like the vague clickbait of video titles to like something that is more specific in terms of what we're discussing. Because generally, I think looking at videos, if you're gonna be in like the year 2026, 2027, provided an asteroid doesn't hit us something down the road, but actually that asteroid is like way out there. I've read more on that. At least, you can look back at content from a few years ago and not be lost in like the YouTube matrix trying to figure things out. But yeah, if you like what you saw, please like, comment, and subscribe. Dislike if you dislike it. I am out.